you will hire according to the value you will generate, not hire people to generate value. There is a golden rule, I practice, or I try to practice, I should say, and which I've shared with my Mancom and the teams here, which is called a 2-second pause rule. One thing is about saying that we have an open door policy, and the second thing is about implementing it, because the Gen Z is, looking forward to that social conversation.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another interesting episode of the GCC Pulse CentreStage, a podcast where we bring you real life stories from the world of GCCs. Our guest today is Prashant Vijay, the head of India Tech Hub, L'Oreal. As we speak, Prashant is making his transition from Singapore, relocating to India, a reflection of how the GCC ecosystem is evolving today. Prashant had a lot of interesting ideas to share about how he's planning to integrate the team, helping them with their career progressions, cultural integration, not just with the hub, but across the different geographies that exist for L'Oreal. Despite his years of experience and having worked in different geographies, Prashant is a Gen Z at heart. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I hope you do too. Prashant, welcome to GCC Center Stage.
Thank you very much, Krishma. Excited to talk to you.
Prashant, you had a stellar experience, right? And if I look into your LinkedIn or even through some of the conversations that we've had, you've been part of almost all the trends which happened, right? Be it outsourcing, be it consulting. You were part of comms and media. You part of consumer now. How have you seen GCC evolving, and from 2008 back to today, and what do you think have been the key developments?
As you reflect back, you would see, Krishma, we started with an element of outsourcing, way back in early 2000s and even earlier, with the dot-com boom kind of helping us move in a separate direction, where people started looking at India to enable the business growth with, all of those things coming together. 2008-9, was another year where we saw a lot of, as we call, global captive centers at that time that came through India. And the whole concept of how it emerged was about the cost arbitrage, because you hire people at very high cost salaries in locations which are Western, kind of cities, New York, Paris, and many other locations. And then you started realizing that the talent pool is very big in India. So why not we just go to India and start leveraging some of those capabilities? And then there was another evolution where we started going into an element of bringing in business functions, but not the strategy of the business functions, but it was more about bringing the delivery of business functions back into India. And we started calling those centers as GBS, or Global Business Services, where tech became another lever. But then you had HR, finance, legal, and many other components come together and create a holistic environment. And then there was another evolution, I would say, and sometimes it gets less talked about, between 2014, 15, and 18, is where the tech took a transformation to become tech owners. And then now, which is probably the phase we are entering, is also being augmented by AI. And this is a new sense of transformation, because it's not only about creating a hub which is AI powered, AI enabled, but this now is the next chapter of how Indian IT tech will evolve for their group companies, for their companies to not only be transformative centers, but also the future of AI enablers for the group to start thinking about how to infuse AI into everything that we do for our eventual consumers.
You spoke about how the evolution happened, but are there any conversations that the GCC ecosystems are not still open about and probably should be having more of?
One key message, to answer your question, Krishma, is the fact that we want to be called a value center. We want to talk about value engineering. We want to call about value delivery. So we want to get away from the point of, headcount based delivery, to say how many people are you willing, going to hire? What is your ramp up, for certain functions? Are you going to bring all the functions to India, or is it only about certain data aspects or certain infrastructure aspects? I'm trying to create a holistic center. Everything that my group does today at Paris, at New York, at Singapore, at Shanghai, I'm trying to replicate the full model here, so that everybody who is part of the India Tech Hub story at L'Oreal feels a complete 360-degree perspective of how tech will help our business evolve, how we will get closer to our consumers, what it means to really deliver value to our consumers, what is that value that we will enable from this India Tech Hub, rather than only talking about how many engineers are hired, how many tech architects do I have, how many Salesforce certified architects do you have. I am a firm believer that that is a byproduct of the value you will deliver. And then you will hire according to the value you will generate, not hire people to generate value.
Not hire people to generate value, but the value that you'll generate. Interesting. So when you speak about saying that you're moving away to a value center, one of the key components then happens to be the cultural integration, which becomes very key, right? Not just of understanding the cultural or culture of L'Oreal, which is an establishment by itself, but then also integrating with the culture of the newfound people who will be joining the
Yes.
L'Oreal family in India. How are you going about it? What are the things that you're trying to do differently, Prashant?
So there are two, three things that we are kind of, doing at the center level to make sure that these people who are coming in new to L'Oreal are part of the new L'Oreal family now are inculcating. One, there is a conscious effort by everyone in my team and myself to bring these people to understand what it means in the daily life. One thing is talking about culture on slides, but one thing is about showcasing them in real life scenarios. So all of us, my Mancom and myself, have signed up on a mission where we want to make sure that everything that we do, say, and act on the ground is reflective of L'Oreal culture so that they can understand how we are integrating the cultural elements into our day-to-day life. As we have started two, three initiatives which are excellent, touch points for these younger colleagues to connect with us is one, ask me anything. We have started doing some sessions where I or some of my Mancom members sit with me and there's an open forum. It's a casual conversation. It's not a structured conversation. There is no pre-list of questions to be asked. Sit over coffee, sit over chai, ask me anything, in terms of what they want to ask about my career growth, about their life, what can I expect from them, what they can expect from me, what is my Mancom doing, why are we doing this way, why are we not thinking in this direction. So it's a great conversation and that helps build rapport. The second one, which is also very interesting because a lot of people have given me very positive feedback in that sense, is the open door policy. One thing is about saying that we have an open door policy, and the second thing is about implementing it. Because the Gen Z is, looking forward to that social conversation with the leaders. They are not only looking for that technical conversation. There is a term which we are implementing at the ground level, which is called the ITH family or the India Tech Hub family for L'Oreal, and it is where we're celebrating occasions together, we're celebrating moments together, and they're really liking it. And some of them who have come from a very different ecosystem are telling me that we could not believe that we could have these social connect conversations as part of our work life. They always believe that these are only Monday morning conversations to say how was your weekend. This is very important because as this come in and settle into the L'Oreal ecosystem, they need to feel valued. They need to
Mm.
feel that we are maximizing the ability for them to be productive and maximize their ability to contribute back to the L'Oreal growth journey. And as part of that stride, what we have done is we have created a unique model where most of the teams that we are hiring are automatic extensions of the group teams that we carry. So it is not creating a center of capacity, but is creating more a perspective on what is the group's potential in terms of the future of technology and how these teams, who are natural extensions of the group teams, are going to deliver. So we're not delivering for a specific market, we're not delivering for a specific need, we are going to deliver for the futuristic needs of the group. So there is a clear ambition for each of, as we call it in L'Oreal, a business platform or a business function. We have identified our key priorities for the next 5 years. And a lot of credit has to go back to our group CIO, ETN, who has created an IT 2030 vision for the group in terms of what the group has to deliver. And each of the business platforms and the support functions have been given clear objectives and KPIs on how the IT 2030 will land. And as part of those objectives and as part of those strategies, we have created, what we call is the right fit technology stacks.
Interesting conversations, but then probably in the interest of time, we'll move to something a little bit more fun, rapid fire questions.
Mhm.
You spoke about how you encourage an open door policy, have chai, coffee with your teams, right? So chai, coffee, or bubble tea. Does your answer change based on which geography you are in, or based on the type of people that you're interacting with, based on the generations that you're interacting with?
Very good question. I have two answers to give, Krishma. And I'm laughing because, I think my daughter will love the answer as well. When I'm with her in Singapore, it's only bubble tea. There is no other conversation. And
Mm.
when I'm in India, I come back to my roots. I'm still an Indian citizen and I come back and chai is my thing. There's nothing better than a hot cup of kadak masala chai that, that will warm up my day and I will have any conversations that you want. Now, when I go to Paris, there is nothing that beats that espresso.
one slide in every GCC pitch that should be banned forever, Prashant?
I think how fast we have grown, how many
Mm,
numbers we will hit, and when we will reach the magical 500 or 1000 or 2000 number.
absolutely, because ultimately it's value based and not based on how many headcounts that you are having, right?
Exactly,
Perfect.
exactly.
Um, One role, and Prashant, you played multiple
Mhm,
roles, right?
mhm.
And one role that you probably took, but almost had taken, but didn't. And do you think it was a good call or was your biggest regret?
So there was a role, and I can't
Hmm.
name the employer, but yes, there was a time when I was creating a GCC strategy for another big firm. And at that time, I was offered I had created the entire blueprint, everything was ready, and I was supposed to take charge as the GCC head. But that was a nearshore GCC. It was not a India-centric GCC. It was a nearshore GCC in the Eastern European region. And I was offered the role of Romania GM, country manager and general manager for Romania to be based there and kind of drive the strategy end to end. Somehow, something clicked, and my wife told me that Prashant, maybe while I appreciate that you're thinking about Eastern Europe and stuff, but maybe you have to think about also giving something back to your motherland. I regret probably at some point that I could have had that experience of Eastern European culture, but at the same time, I think whatever happens happens for good. And now at a charge of a French multinational, which is world's number one beauty tech company in the world, for them to trust in my abilities to set up something which is futuristic for the group, something which will drive even more value. So maybe not taking that has also helped me land at a better spot.
So you are now setting up your team, Prashant, and I'm sure you have the best of talent available at your disposal. But let's consider that you had the option of building your team with some of the superheroes, fictional characters that you've seen in
Mhm.
movies. Uh, who do you think you would consider for heading your strategy? Who would run your operations? And who would you absolutely not hire? If they were the fictional characters or books, characters from books, movies, your choice.
So I think if you give it a thought for a minute, I would say that I will hire somebody like a Shikamaru Nara from Naruto as my head of
Mm,
strategy, if it is an anime character. If it is head of operations, I will probably go with somebody like a Levi Ackerman, who comes from Attack on Titans. And if it is somebody who I will absolutely not hire, which is a tougher one to answer, I would say Goku from Dragon Ball. Those are the three that I would say that probably are the ones that will fit that purpose.
let's imagine a scenario where in a 2008 Prashant, who was
Mm.
working on GCC consultancy, walks into your office today and asks for career advice. What do you think that you would give him?
There is a golden rule that I practice, or I try to practice, I should say, and which I've shared with my Mancom and the teams here, which is called a 2 second pause rule. You know, before I answer something or before somebody pops up a random question to me, I always take a 2 second pause to think and automatically kind of filters what I'm going to say to just make sure that while it is natural, it is not something that I don't want to say or something that has not landed in the wrong way for a person who's trying to receive it. So that is one thing that I told myself a few years back, and I've been practicing, and it has helped me. If I circle back way to 2008, I would say I could have been a little more bold, a little more risk-taking appetite, if I can say. I think sometimes in our middle management layers of career, we sometimes get bogged down by what we want to achieve versus what the risk-taking appetite could be.
Wonderful. And I'm sure this is something that you can pass on to the teams that you have on the ground as you do the mentorship and coaching for them on a day to day basis. And that's a perfect segue for me to thank you for the time that you've given today. Fantastic conversation, lots of learning, lots of insights. Um, I'm sure your team is definitely going to look forward to it, but I'm sure our audience also will enjoy this discussion immensely. Thank you, Prashant.
Thank you, Krishma. It was amazing talking to you. I really enjoyed the free flow conversations. Thank you for having me on the channel as well, and I really look forward to talking again. Thank you.